Wow. What a thing to do to you.
Now you know why.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all of council and to all the folks that are visiting tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to make a special presentation. There's somebody sitting around the table that's been involved in municipal politics for a very long time. I'd like to present a certificate of recognition to Mayor Christine Blair. Recognition of 20 years of dedicated service to municipal government in the province of Nova Scotia. Recognizes and acknowledges your significant contribution to the institution of local government. It further acknowledges a commitment to the philosophy, goals, and activities of the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. And this was actually presented in 2025. So I would like to congratulate you on this milestone. And I would like to ask our CAO, Dan, for a roll call, please.
Very much. So we start with the chair, Deputy Mayor Sanderson.
Present.
Mayor Blair.
Present.
Councillor Weatherby.
Present.
Councillor Richardson.
Present.
Councillor Cooper.
Present.
Councillor Johnson.
Present.
Councillor Leggett. Present. Councillor Martell.
Present.
Councillor Patton.
Present.
Councillor Benoit.
Present.
Councillor Fletcher.
Present.
Councillor Kennedy. Present. All of council is present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Dan. In peace and in friendship and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge that the Municipality of Colchester is in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq. You have an agenda before you, council. I would like to note that number 11 is revised and on table, so take note of that. And I'd like to add in that area, 11B, because it's a related item, it's an information item, it's also on table. So we will visit that item at that time. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to add to the agenda new information for RECC operations. It would ask that it be positioned under 5B for action items. I'm asking to have it put on the discussion, then have it put on for discussion.
Sorry, could you repeat that, please? I missed the first part.
I would like to add to the agenda new information for RECC operations and would ask that it be positioned under 5B for action items. I'm going to ask to have it put on for discussion and then the vote.
I'll let you speak to that.
Sure, just to the chair. So for clarity, you're saying new information. So you're saying then have it for a vote. So if it's not an information, it's an action item. Is there a specific ask or request that's coming to council?
Yes. I'm going to ask, do you want me to tell you?
Sure.
What it is? Okay. I'm going to ask to rescind the motion made on December 11th council committee authorizing the 3 and 3 on board and new information with that.
All right. So we've already dealt with this item. So you're asking for it to come back. So I will have to ask all of council if they're okay with bringing this item back again. So I think that's the right way to handle this one. It's already been talked about and you're asking for it to be talked about again.
Okay.
To be rescinded.
Pardon?
To be rescinded.
Right, so through the chair, so typically in that situation, so you're putting a motion to add an item. So council would need to agree, so I would hold a vote to see if council would put it
To
on.
add it to the agenda right now, okay, we don't normally vote on agenda items, but I think in this case we have to. So, all those in favor of adding this item, oh, I need, so you have the motion, seconded by Councillor Martell. Any further discussion on this motion? You ready for the vote?
We doing it on screen or are we doing? it?
No, I think we're just going to do it. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't know this was coming, so. So all in favor of bringing this item back and rescinding the motion we made back in December, say
So-
aye. Sorry.
You're not making the motion to rescind, you're just bringing it on.
Oh,
for
sorry.
discussion.
Oh, sorry. God, I'm confused. Apologies. All in favor of bringing this item back and putting it on the agenda for tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay.
Nay.
Can I have show of hands for nays, please? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm a nay. Hands up again. Is that everyone? So the motion is defeated. Is there anything else to add or delete to the agenda? So if you're satisfied with the agenda, can I have a motion to approve? Moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. Motion carries. You have before you the minutes of December 2nd and the 11th. Had a chance to review those minutes. Is there anyone prepared to move the approval? Minutes moved by Councillor Weatherby, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Any further discussion? Question's been called. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, nay. That motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Not seeing any hands, so we'll move on to our first action item. And it's the land purchase for Parkland Summerhill Place, Upper Onslow, and Pam McIntosh and Hillary Paquette, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Hillary and I are tag teaming tonight. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to talk a bit about process and then Hillary's going to step in. Is my mic? Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit about process and then turn it over to Hillary to talk about some parkland issues. So what you have before you tonight is a request to consider purchasing some additional land in a new development to increase the park space that we have there. So how this comes about is through the subdivision bylaw. And every time we get a new multiple lot development, we have to consider what the area needs for park. And so built into our subdivision bylaw is the ability to consider us acquiring land, acquiring a combination of land and requesting cash or requesting cash only. So in this area, we look at 5% of the assessed value of the lots, overall lots that are being created. And then we base our land, how much land we can acquire based on that formula. In this case, given the growth that we're seeing in that area, we decided that it would be in the best interest to acquire some additional land, and Hillary will get more into that. And as part of this process, when we do ask for cash in terms of subdivision development, that money goes into a reserve fund, which we call the open space reserve or fund reserve. And so that just accumulates over the years. And when circumstances like this arise, we are able to consider using that money for this type of land acquisition. It isn't something that we do often. Hillary and I checked back and it looks like we've only done it twice since 2008. But when we feel it's important, we do bring it forward to council. So I'm going to turn it over to Hillary and she'll get into more of the specific park areas. And I am going to share just an image that we have up on the screen while she's talking.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. So the particular area that we're talking about, as Pam mentioned, is in Upper Onslow. It's a new subdivision and we have, as she mentioned, already acquired some land there, which is marked in the green hatch mark. So it has frontage on Summerhill Place. And we'll have frontage on a new road, which will be an extension of Matland Drive, which would be on the left-hand side of the Green Hatch area. So the area that we've acquired to date is about 1 acre, more or less. And as I mentioned, it has the frontage on Summerhill Place. And the subdivision that would create the extension of Matland Drive was also negotiated at 5% of the lands for that subdivision. So we didn't know at the time that the second subdivision, the more recent one, was happening, but so there's been a lot of discussion about this and basically trying to create the best parkland that we can with adequate frontage, adequate size for this growing area and other lands nearby that have also potential to be developed into the future. So we have a parkland strategy which recommends, I'm going to go imperial this evening, so 5 acres per 1,000 people. So in this case, we have an estimated population projected at about 400 people. So that would mean that we would want to acquire ideally about 2 acres of parkland in this kind of the greater area. So not just this immediate subdivision, but the greater area. So seeking a greater size of parkland, as Pam mentioned, and additional street frontage, we have approached the owner of that lot 5, which is hatched in red and with a yellow background on the map. And so we've approached them about purchasing that lot, and they responded favorably. So we attempt to, through the subdivision process, acquire parkland that has adequate frontage for visibility, for safety, for aesthetic purposes, has a suitable and central location in the immediate neighborhood and the surrounding area. And that is a suitable size for a purpose sometimes to be determined, but just a suitable size to serve the residents in the surrounding community. So this proposal that we're presenting tonight, the recommendation, would certainly create an overall better park. There would be a larger area to create or allow us to have a space to buffer from the neighboring properties. So buffering could be vegetation or tree planting in this case. It would allow space for like active use, perhaps a playground or something like that in the future, or just also areas of passive use. And I mentioned the street frontage that is, we have some parcels that don't have good street frontage at all, so it's really difficult to develop them. So this would provide really good frontage on the adjacent streets. And as I mentioned, that would be for safety, for visibility, and for aesthetics.
And back to me, as part of this process, we do hire an appraiser to go out and to do an appraisal of the lot. We are obligated to offer fair market value, and that's how we determine what that is. So that was done, and that was shared with the property owner, with the developer, and like I said, he agreed to the findings of that, which was $49,000. And in our open space reserve fund, we do have, as of the end of September, $296,500. So there is ample funding available for this. So our staff recommendation is that this lot 5 be purchased to be incorporated into the existing park space in that area. And so there's two options in front of you tonight, which is to agree to recommend to council that this lot 5 be purchased at that price, or you could recommend that council does not proceed with this with the decision to purchase. So I will end there, and certainly if you have any Any questions? Hillary and I are here.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Hillary. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that explanation. I'm prepared to move that council committee recommends to council that council authorize the mayor and CAO to prepare and execute a purchase and sale agreement for Summer Hill Place, Lot 5, Upper Onslow, at a purchase price of $49,000, and with the source of funds being the Open Space Fund Reserve.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Richardson. Pam, did you want to add?
Yeah, and I do apologize. We just realized a bit too late that motion should have been worded a bit differently. So what we propose is that a recommendation to council to approve, there we go, the purchase of the Summer Hill Place Lot 5, and authorize the mayor and CAO to sign the purchase and sale agreement. So we kind of got a bit ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
We wrote that. Sorry about that.
Are you okay with that amendment? Okay. You're okay? Thanks,
Okay.
Councillor Richardson. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? We're ready for the vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. We will vote with our clickers this time. Oh, not yet. Now it's open. The vote is closed and it's unanimous in favor of the motion. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tracy. I'm sorry, I pay attention to you. All right, on to the next item. And that's amendments to the personnel policy 6.25 remote work policy. And I'll ask Kelly, please, to address this item. Our Human Resources Director.
Good evening, everyone. A 6-month trial of an initial remote work policy took place from May to November 2025. Informal feedback was welcomed from staff throughout the trial, and a staff survey was made available at the end of the trial to collect data. All department directors were then consulted on the proposed changes to the policy based on the feedback received. Proposed amendments to this policy are based on feedback received both since the trial implementation and strive to build on the current policy by adding increased flexibility to remote work options. The current remote work policy says Tuesday to Thursday are anchor days in which all staff must be on site, and eligible staff may select one day of Monday or Friday to work remotely. After collecting feedback, staff are overwhelmingly looking for more options in how they work remotely. Anchor days did not work for some departments, where remote work days limited to Monday or Friday could create on-site operational challenges on those days. Many staff members would also benefit in both well-being and productivity from working remotely more than one day a week. In the feedback survey, staff discussed some of the following benefits of remote work: a smaller ecological footprint, greater focus and fewer distractions when completing tasks, greater productivity, increased overall mental wellness, greater overall job satisfaction, exercise opportunities at lunchtime, and assisting with neurodivergent and accessibility needs, as well as a host of benefits from less commuting. They also identified the following challenges of the remote work policy. Flexibility was too limited or restrictive, various technology challenges, too many anchor days, too many employees requesting to work remote on the same days of the week, and out of the ordinary reasons for remote work requests were regularly occurring or recreational in nature. This policy continues to be a positive tool for recruiting and retaining our employees. It's now being advertised on the list of benefits for job postings of eligible positions. In the staff survey, it's worth noting that 100% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed with the statement that remote work increases job satisfaction, with job satisfaction being directly tied to employee retention. Key policy enhancements being proposed are as follows. Anchor days be reduced from 3 days to 1 day per week, and departments are able to set their own additional anchor days if required. Possible remote work days increased from 1 to 2 per week at management discretion. And the policy will also now include further clarification on what working remotely for out of the ordinary reasons means. With that, the recommendation is that council approve the remote work policy amendments to make the trial permanent policy.
Thank you, Kelly. Anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Patton?
Yes, I'll make the motion that council committee recommends to council that the remote work policy amendments be approved as presented.
Thank you. We have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Cooper?
Yeah, if I could go through you to Kelly, please. Kelly, you mentioned there that it's advertised that we're doing this. Did you say that?
Yes,
So I'm confused. We haven't passed it yet, so how do we
the trial.
trial?
Yeah.
Okay, just for that.
Yeah, during the 6 months of the trial, we've been adding remote work policy trial to our list of benefits on our job postings.
I'm concerned about it because it seems that we well know that federal government certainly has been going completely back to, being at the workplace rather than being working from home. Determined that's the best way to go. We seem to be going in the opposite direction. I've always felt that we've treated our staff very well and through pay and everything else that we do for them. It's a great place to work. I'm not thinking we need to add this to it myself. So, and the things you mentioned are the things that I was thinking about in the very start, people on the same days and, trying to get, you want to go see somebody and they're off, there's enough time off that people have anyway to be able to take. You're just adding more complications to that myself, I think. So, I really think I can't approve this myself. I don't agree with it, so. Thank you.
Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Deputy. Through you to Kelly. Thanks, Kelly. I was just wondering, was there any concerns of the staff that didn't have the option to work remotely? Was there any staff that were upset about this kind of thing?
Not that was formally brought forward to me. I won't say it didn't exist, but it wasn't presented to me directly.
Okay. In the surveys or anything that you did? It wasn't done in the survey or anything that you had done?
No, the survey was for staff that were able to participate in the trial.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Councillor Fletcher?
Through the chair, just my thoughts on this. I'm not comfortable with this going to 1 anchor day per week. In other offices that I've been in, things seem to run a lot smoother with the employees in. I did actually receive a complaint about Colchester, that there was an employee working from home and it was harder to get through with the rezoning and land use. I don't know, I'm just not comfortable. Even if we extended it another 6 months, that would have given it a full year round, even to test in the winter to see if this would work. But as this is brought for the motion, I can't go with it. Just my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Weatherby.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, the survey that was given to the employees, was it only given to the employees? Was the survey to include the managers and directors as well?
Yes, it included everyone.
Okay. Is there any information for us from that survey? Numbers, questions? I'd be very interested in having more information on it. I have no problem with making the temporary provision permanent. That's not a problem. But this is a grossly enhanced version of it, and I do have a problem with that, especially when you see so many other places going backwards, getting away from remote work. A lot of them didn't find it productive. We've got really good employees. You do a great job. I'm really appreciative of that. However, I don't think this is needed for either recruitment or retention, because county jobs are very, very lucrative compared to a lot of the normal jobs in this county. So I would like to have more information before I try to enhance it. I'm all for making it permanent. That's no problem. But I don't see enhancing the program at least until it's at a full year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Leggett.
Thanks, Madam Chair, through to Kelly. What is the percentage of people that can work at home and those that are fixed operations? Like Bill's crew or Michelle's crews, or like what's
Of our total staff,
yeah. I mean,
I
what's
don't
the
have a
percentage?
percentage. It's safe to say it's less than half that are eligible to work from home.
Which I guess that can cause me concern, because then you have a big disparagement between those who have to go to work every day, no matter where it is, versus those that come into the office. I work for the government. I don't think it was a stellar success in a lot of government departments, a lot of use of time, especially in some of the offices I've seen. I think it's good. I can see like I'm lesser version of this, enhancing it to what it is now. No, I can't support that. But I think the workforce in the county is too. If it was all in the category that could work from home, it'd be different. But you've got such a disparagement between those that have to go to fixed sites every day to do their job. I think it's unbalanced. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm with some of the rest of the councillors around the table for Kelly. You've been in your position now for a couple of years, I believe, is it, or almost two?
Yes.
Have we had any kind of people turn down work because we did not have a remote work policy that you know of as of yet?
Yes, we've had numerous offers declined, and it's come up in interviews countless times.
If I may follow up, were they looking for 1 day a week off or 2 days a week off or total all days a week?
It varies depending on the candidate and the industry they're coming from.
I can support 1 day a week, and I'll compare and say that. And as far as, you know, if we want to talk about an anchor day, that's up to staff to figure that out, which are going what's best. I'm not going to say that, but when we start looking at two, I mean, we took this thing upon ourselves, and, you know, staff kind of implemented, we kind of delivered for 6 months. And of course, why wouldn't they ask for more? If they had 1 day with off, I probably would too, if I could work remotely. It's just the way it works, right? And two might turn into three, but I think from salary point of view, I think we're very competitive, not a problem at all, and we just all seen that here a couple of months ago with Alex around the table. I think it is a pretty good place to work. I don't think we're going through a lot of employees, so people that come here seem to like it here and stay here. So for those reasons, I can't support this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Any further comments or questions, Kelly? Are you ready for the vote?
Question.
Okay. The motion will be up on our screen. And the vote is now open. Voting is closed and the motion is defeated. 9-3. So where does that leave us? Do we want to entertain another motion for that?
I guess based on just the discussion around the table, yeah, council could either consider continuing with the trial as it existed, and to the comment around giving 1 full year, or alternatively continuing with the trial while some additional information, whether it's a survey or results from the survey, come back. Or, you know, council could say you want to see some other iteration. So there's lots of ways to move forward. And so whether continue with the trial or make an alternative that staff could even come back and just if we wanted to, council could even consider continue with the trial until that alternative came back to council.
Is anybody prepared to put a motion, something like that on the floor? Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Deputy. I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that we continue with the trial for up to 1 year. And after that 1 year, we get an overview of how successful it is. That gives us the full year, all the seasons and one thing another. But yes, 1 year with an overview immediately following on how it has actually worked.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Kennedy seconds the motion. Any further discussion? Councillor Cooper?
So if I can get a little clarification, please. And it's you, Mayor. You say overview, do you mean, as I think Councillor Weatherby mentioned, getting the information that's put out to staff development, you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
I want to make sure that's what you meant.
that would be part of it through the chair. That would be part of it, but we would need to know how it actually worked. Not just the survey information, but
Yeah,
how
both
this has
parts.
actually worked over the period of 1 year. And
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody clear on the motion? Yes?
Question.
Oh, you got it. Okay, Tracy's already done her magic. It'll be up on the screen in a minute. And voting is open. It's closed. And we have a unanimous in favor of that motion. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kelly. And I think you're on for the next one as well. The next item is equity and anti-racism strategy. And over to you, Kelly.
Thank you. As part of the Dismantling Racism and Hate Act, the province has mandated every municipality in Nova Scotia create an equity and anti-racism strategy. As a joint regional project with Town of Truro, Village of Bible Hill, and the Town of Stewiacke, and with the support of Waking the Unconscious consultants, this strategy was developed. The strategy has recently been adopted or recommended for adoption by our other municipal partners. This strategy sets out why we're doing this type of work. First, it's about building a fair, inclusive, and connected region where everyone feels they belong. Second, it's about addressing racism, discrimination, and inequality in meaningful ways. Third, we are fulfilling our legal and moral commitments under the Dismantling Racism and Hate Act, Bill 96. We engage the community through open houses, focus groups, and interviews, making sure that diverse voices were heard in the development of this strategy. We partner directly with underrepresented communities, and those voices directly shape this plan. The strategy you see today reflects both this research and what we heard from the people we serve. It brings together local knowledge, data, and the lived experiences of those affected by inequities. Across all 4 municipalities, people told us they want real action, not symbolic gestures. Trust and accountability are crucial, which means regular updates and visible progress. We also heard a need for plain language, translation, and accessible information. The strategy is organized into 3 main goals: Each has specific actions that are realistic, measurable, and tailored to the region. Goal 1 is about building stronger community relationships. We're committing to 2 regional community equity forums each year, plus ongoing surveys and community opportunities. Goal 2 is about education. Education is key to making real change. This plan commits all staff, council, and committees to training in equity, anti-racism, and accessibility, with completion tracked and reported annually. We'll also create practical tools like guides and checklists to help staff apply what they learn day to day. Education won't stop there. We'll also host community learning opportunities like workshops and webinars, and support local groups and schools with resources. Goal 3 is about organizational change inside our municipalities. We will strengthen accountability through respectful, voluntary data collection, regular equity reviews, and safe reporting options for staff. We'll review and update our policies to make sure they're fair, accessible, and consistent across the municipalities. And finally, we'll improve outreach so opportunities, whether for jobs, training, or community programs, reach more diverse communities. This strategy includes clear and measurable ways to track progress. First of all, we will focus on engagement. We'll hold 2 regional community equity forums each year and track participation, and we'll monitor training completion rates for staff, council, and committees. Next, we will look at policies and data. Each year, key policies will be reviewed through an equity and accessibility lens. Council will receive annual updates that report both successes and challenges, and plain language summaries will be published so that residents can clearly see the progress being made. Success is not just about checking off actions, it's about the kind of communities we are building. We want welcoming and fair communities where everyone feels safe and respected, and where residents trust that discrimination will be addressed seriously and fairly. Success means equal access to opportunities, whether it's jobs, programs, or civic participation. Residents will face fewer barriers and be able to fully take part. We're aiming for stronger relationships and trust. This means ongoing collaboration. And finally, success will require transparency, and annual reports will show our progress and our challenges openly. Adoption of this strategy will confirm our shared commitment to equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. Once adopted, the full strategy and plain language summary will be published online and shared with committees and partners. Implementation will begin immediately after adoption. Early steps include training for staff and councils and the first round of community equity forums. Municipalities will coordinate efforts and share resources to keep actions consistent. Thanks to all councils and staff for your leadership and your continued commitment to this work. We acknowledge the voices of Mi'kmaq and African Nova Scotian communities, along with the contributions of newcomers, racialized groups, to us LGBTQIA+ members, Acadian and Francophone members, and persons with disabilities whose perspectives shaped this strategy.
Thank you, Kelly. That was probably couple of years worth of work there?
About 1 year, yeah.
1 year, okay. Well, it's a lot of work for sure. Is anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Weatherby, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm prepared to recommend the council committee recommends to council that the new equity and anti-racism strategy be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Benoit. Any further questions, comments to Kelly?
Through the chair to you, Kelly. Is there any prejudice in the hiring process? In other words, because you're from a minority group, you get priority? Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think so, yes. I would say that all things being considered equal, being qualifications, experience in the hiring process, we would look at someone that had identified as being from an equity deserving group in that situation.
As long as the qualifications and everything were there.
Yes,
Equal to everyone else then.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Ready for the vote? Okay. It'll be up on the screen. Voting's now open. The voting is closed and it's unanimous in favor of the motion. Thank you very much, Kelly. All right. Next item is our is number 8, community event grant request, the FIS Wentworth, Canada. And our manager of recreation services.
Good evening, Council, Madam Chair. In front of you, you have an action item for the FIS Wentworth Canada Cup. It's a community event grant. And Freestyle Nova Scotia is looking to get some funding through this grant for an event in 2026. The Wentworth Cup is an international freestyle skiing event that's being held in Wentworth. In 2025, the Canada Cup was held during the same time and it attracted people from across the nation. And it was the biggest event in Wentworth since the 2011 Canada Games. In 2026, this is the first FIS International Ski and Snowboard Federation. It's the event at Ski Wentworth, and it will attract a number of athletes from across the country and abroad, and be attracting a lot of people from outside the region to come to our area. Freestyle Nova Scotia is requesting $5,000 for this event. The event will be hosted at Ski Wentworth with a large group of Colchester County residents taking lead roles in organizing and volunteering for that event. The organizing committee is anticipating up to 100 plus athletes. 8 to 10 of those are from Nova Scotia, 20 to 30 coaches, and well over 1,000 parents and spectators for the event. The organizers did submit an application in late November for the event. Staff have reached out to the organizers for a little bit more information about accommodations and using a lot of accommodations through Airbnbs in Cumberland, Colchester, and hotels in the Truro and Colchester area. We did reach out to Municipality of Cumberland, and they are funding in about $500 towards this event. We have a couple options on the table to certainly fund this event, or we could deny the funding. So this grant does fall under the community events policy. From the last grant that was submitted just before Christmas, there was $60,000 in the 2025-26 budget, and we are currently sitting at $31,416 in that budget. The staff are recommending about $500 for this event, and I would like to open it up to the table for council's questions.
All right, thank you, Craig. Councillor Fletcher.
I'd like to make a motion that council committee recommends to council that the funding in the amount of $500 be approved for the 2026 FIS Wentworth Canada Cup being held in February 2026.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Benoit. Are there any questions, comments to Craig? Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Craig. I see they asked for 5,000 in their budget. They got $10,000 under government. It didn't say municipal, and it didn't say provincial. It just said government funding, I think. So are we following Cumberland County where they asked for 5,000 and we'll get them 500? Is that how staff come up with 500? I just want to know the reason. When I've never seen anybody ask for 5,000 and all of a sudden they get 500. It's not even close. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on why you decided 500.
Yeah, through you to the councillor. That was probably a lot of had to deal with the decision on that. Being Wentworth is in Cumberland, we thought they might ante up a little bit more, but that is the current situation right now, and it is council's decision if they would like to increase that ask. or
Thanks,
request.
Greg. I got no problem.
Yep.
I thought that was probably the reason behind it, but I'm okay with what you recommend.
Mayor Blair?
Thank you. Through the chair, 500 doesn't seem like a whole lot for an event of this nature. I think that we need to be just a tad more generous. I would be more inclined to say 2,500. There's money in the budget. This is an event that will benefit Colchester County as well as Cumberland County. Even though it's in Wentworth, we have Colchester County families that are supporting and have the business. So I like the idea of increasing the amount. And I would ask for consideration that of the mover and the seconder, that the amount be increased to $2,500.
Okay, I'll ask the mover and the seconder if you're okay with that amount, 2,500. That's a yes from both mover and seconder. So the motion has been amended to approve an amount up to $2,500. Any further questions? You okay, Tracy?
Question.
Right, on screen. The voting is open. We have almost unanimous support, 11-1. Did you want that to happen? Okay, sometimes you press the wrong button. Okay, good, just checking. The motion carries. Thank you, Craig.
Paying attention.
Okay, now moving on to number 9, action item, amendments to our procurement policy. Our Director of Public Works, Michelle, please.
Madam Chair, and good evening, Mayor and Council. This item relates to making changes to our municipal policy for purchasing and tendering for goods, services, and construction projects, which I will refer to as our procurement policy. And the proposed changes are housekeeping items that Council has already discussed in the last couple of months, but I'll go through them in general detail. At their meeting of November 2025, Council Committee did receive information from staff that the province is abandoning the 80-20 rule manual, which relates to the use of the Truckers Association, where our procurement policy does also include and refer to the 80-20 rule, where the province is abandoning that rule manual. It would make sense for us to then eliminate that requirement from our procurement policy. So that is one of the changes included in your item this evening, is the removal of that clause. Also at their meeting in November, Council discussed bonding requirements for construction projects. And as you'll recall, this related to a tender that closed in September, and there were some challenges around bonding. So Council did agree in November to modify bonding requirements so that in the old policy for projects over $250,000, contractors were required to have bonding in the amount of 50% for labor, materials, and performance. Council agreed in November that we should include an alternative for projects over 250,000, that we would allow a 20% irrevocable letter of credit, bank draft, certified check instead of the 50% bonding. And that would facilitate the process for companies who may not be able to access bonding. In addition to making that change with the bonding, staff also proposed and Council agreed that we should require that contractors submit stat decks with their invoices, which is a document that proves that they have paid all of their suppliers and subcontractors with every payment. And that protects somewhat from being in a situation where vendors and suppliers are owed money by the general. So what you'll see in your item tonight is those specific changes in the procurement policy. And if Council supports the changes, they could recommend, if Council Committee supports, they could recommend to Council at the end of the month that the changes be approved.
Thank you. I'd like to note in the minutes that Councillor Martel has recused herself from this discussion. Do we have a motion? Anybody like to present a motion? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the council committee recommends to council that the proposed amendments to the municipal policy for purchasing and tendering of goods, services, and construction projects be approved as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cooper. Are there any questions for Michelle? You ready for the vote? Tracy, you're ready? Okay. Voting is open. Is closed. And it's unanimous in favor of the motion. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Marketing levy reserve transfer to the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society. And our Economic Development Officer, Jen, will address this one, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The item in front of you this evening is to authorize the transfer of marketing levy reserve funds to the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society. As you're aware, since April 2024, the Municipality of Colchester has been collecting marketing levy revenues. And we've also been collecting on behalf of Millbrook First Nation and the town of Stewiacke under our existing service agreements. As you know, we have a newly formed Tourism Development Society, formerly named the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society, which is now operational. The board has been recruited. The society is formally incorporated, governed under bylaws that have been approved by Colchester Council. We recently have a new executive director that commenced employment in November of 2025. So under our current operating agreement, the society must submit an annual operating budget for municipal review and endorsement. I'll clarify that the budget in front of you tonight is not for your approval. It's simply for information and is a requirement of transfer of the funds. However, the society's board unanimously did approve the budget, and as a point of our bylaws, a minimum of 3 out of 4 of the council representatives on their society board are required to approve the budget in favor in order for funds to be transferred. So the budget's in front of you this evening, and this is just simply a formality for you to review and ask any questions that you might have. So I will note that there was 2 interim payments that have already been transferred, totaling 50,000 to the society, and then the remainder amount that needs to be moved forward to the society is $292,219.71. Just to give you a little bit of information on the operating budget and some information, the budget before you this evening is only a partial year budget. As you know, the society only became operational in November. There will still be a 2026-2027 budget that will come before you prior to next year's fiscal as per our operating agreement. There is alignment fully with the existing budget that's been put in front of you. We're very pleased with the executive director's job with the budget and the board, and that we feel positive moving forward with its step alignment. As you know, we have the society to execute our sustainable tourism expansion program recommendations, and it aligns with all, required allotted distribution with regards to funding. And there is some key highlights that are recommended within the STEP report that are tied back to budgetary expenses. So if you want to take a look through, it's very clear and very well done. So as I noted, the initial transfer will be $292,219. And following this evening, should we move forward to the society, provided council votes in favor this evening. I'll note that Town of Truro will also be following the same process for both tonight's initial fund, and then subsequent funding will happen on a quarterly basis. I think that's all for me for information. However, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I move the council committee authorizes the transfer of marketing levy reserve funds to the Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Society. Subsequent scheduled transfers as outlined by Jen.
Thank you. Seconded by Mayor Blair. Any questions, any comments, any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. It's open for voting. It passes unanimously. Thank you, Jen. All right. Next item is REC governance, appointment of council members to the board and members meeting, and I'll ask our CAO Dan to address this one, please.
Thank you very much. So to committee through the chair. So since the last time that committee met, of course, the town of Truro has had their meeting and has followed Colchester's lead with the recommendation for a new board with 6 members. And so what we're doing tonight as a follow-up from the previous decision of council, and this is revised from what was distributed on Friday. Because from an efficiency perspective, what I'm proposing is that the 3 names picked tonight, that those 3 names, that 2 would replace the existing board members, and the 3rd become the member for the members meeting. And then once that bylaw, the bylaws are changed, that those 3 members then would go forward as the board members. So just to kind of give a quick recap, back in October, council had provided a 90-day notice for the operating agreement. So effectively in the correspondence, we're looking at January 31st as being the end of the current operating agreement. In December, council committee approved a new governance model with 6 members, so 3 would come from Truro and 3 would come from Colchester. The current society structure, so the society itself as an entity doesn't change. What will change is the bylaws that govern that. And then effectively at the end of the month, a new operating agreement for council's consideration will come forward. And our solicitor has prepared an information item, and that's why I paired it in the agenda setting, that to give you some idea on what types of things you would see, what are the changes that we would see from an operating agreement perspective, based on the things that we've learned over, well, essentially the last 10 years. So as part of the continual operation of the facility, the board is going to need to hold a members meeting to approve new bylaws. So that those new bylaws would reflect a new structure with regards to the board itself. And in a members meeting, the way that it would work is your board members who would be appointed, along with 1 additional member who would be a council member going to that members meeting. So effectively, Colchester has the ability to send 3 voting members to a members meeting. And at a members meeting, bylaws can be discussed and approved. And so what I'm proposing, and certainly just from a perspective of an efficient way to move forward, recommending that similar to the way in which council would select your deputy mayor, that through a process of names being put forward, 3 names would be selected. If we had more than 3 names come forward, we would vote. And that effectively that those 3 names, 2 of those names would be the board members and 1 being a council member for a bylaw or for a members meeting where bylaws would be changed. And then following that meeting, those 3 individuals would move forward as the new board members. And not to, say at the end of the day that as council works through the iterations that we may have 3, we may have more people who are interested in it. So we do have an ability to go through a balloting process. But ultimately, at the end of the day, 3 individuals will need to be moved forward. And so as you'll see in the motion, the actual motion will need to name the members. What I'm proposing here is a process that council would, committee with the authority from council would effectively go through a nominating process where names would come forward. And then those 3 names, once selected, would represent Colchester at the members meeting and then would continue on as the board members following that.
All right, thank you. So at this point, I would look for anybody willing to put their name forward or anybody wanted to nominate somebody. I'll ask Councillor Johnson to begin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll nominate Councillor Weatherby, please.
Right, Councillor Weatherby, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. Need a second? Okay. Councillor Fletcher?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Johnson, please.
Councillor Johnson, you accept that nomination?
I will.
Okay. Councillor Richardson,
Nominate Nigel.
do you accept that nomination?
If I can ask questions first, yes.
Accept the nom.
I need to have some clarification on some answers
Okay, go
first.
ahead. Turn your mic on, please, Councillor Richardson.
I will accept the nomination for the position. After a couple of questions, my biggest concern. Truro, the county has agreed on, in principle, to have 3 members from each council. Town of Truro has also agreed to 3 amendments. To the operating. To their side of things. How do we fit into that equation? Because all I see is failure, because if we do not match what the town is doing. Or they do not match what we're doing, we gotta split board. So if it goes into wasting my time, if that's what it's gonna be.
Okay, I'll ask Dan to address that.
Thank you. So through the chair, 2 things, I guess. First of all, we have, here in our meetings, a balanced council so that the possibility of a tie vote exists. And so a tie vote is a defeated vote. The bylaws and from a perspective of, this meeting, I would say that those individuals who would move forward would want to come up with some kind of an approach to make sure that those there could discuss with their counterparts if there was some changes needed. I guess council could send those individuals with the authority to use their discretion to come up with the appropriate bylaws that we need. So you're gonna have bylaws going into the meeting, but if there was something needed to be adjusted or tweaked, I guess as long as council was sending those individuals with some discretionary, then you could get to a place of making sure that all the parties were satisfied. When it comes to the operating agreement itself, that operating agreement has to come to council for consideration, and it will be going to both councils, so both councils will need to approve that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
One other question was. Legal advice. For this group. I'd like to see legal advice be readily available for all meetings.
Discuss.
For discussion, I think it's just for clarification, before he accepts or
Yeah, there's
doesn't
not a
accept the
motion, it's just
nomination.
I want-
Just waiting on whether he will accept the nomination. Oh, you will accept then?
Yeah.
We can talk about legal advice later.
Yeah.
So you will accept. Are there any other nominations?
Nominate Sherry.
Councillor Martel, do you accept the nomination?
No.
Okay. Councillor Cooper,
Nominate Al Kennedy.
Al Kennedy, Councillor Kennedy.
Councillor
You
Kennedy.
accept the nomination, yes? Okay, so we have 4. Are there any other nominations or anybody else willing to put their name forward? You're 3. We have 4. We have Councillor Johnson, Councillor Weatherby, Councillor Leggett, and Councillor Kennedy.
Is it sorry?
We need 3.
Who's nominated so far?
Councillor Johnson, Councillor Weatherby, Councillor Leggett, and Councillor Kennedy. So we will have to have a vote because we have more than 3 on our list. Would anybody else like to express an interest in being on the board? Okay, so we will have to have a vote and Tracy will pass around the ballots. Yes, go ahead.
So the list that you have in front of you is all of committee here tonight. And so everybody will be asked to select 3. So I'm recognizing that it's a list of everybody here, but of the 4 names, Councillor Weatherby, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Leggett, Councillor Kennedy. So you can pick 3 of those and then we will tally those up. And the 3 with the most votes would be those that would move forward.
Yeah, just pick 3, please. Only 3.
Anybody need a pen?
So, our solicitor and Dan will, the solicitor will be our scrutineer, and Dan and Dennis will leave the room to count the votes, so we'll just bide our time. Shouldn't take very long. I can't sing, sorry, not tonight.
Your father bring these over on the ship?
Her phone because she gave me 20 years. True story.
That was only a 2-year-old.
And it went to dry in Boston, lifesavers. Oh. Lifesavers, it would have been good. Lifesavers. As well.
Right.
It's the same. No. Her little kickoff. So now she's got 3 kids from the name. Or soon to be five. Oh, yeah. Thanks for that one.
And they're back. Want to thank everybody that let their names stand for the board. And Dan, or I guess you have the results.
Thank you. So the 3 councillors with the most votes was Councillor Weatherby, Councillor Kennedy, and Councillor Johnson. And so if for the members meeting, based on the tally of the votes. Councillor Weatherby, Councillor Kennedy would be the board members with Councillor Johnson as the council member. And then the three following that would move forward as the new board members.
Congratulations, everyone. Thank you very much for stepping up.
So you need the motion.
And so we need the motion.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a complete chest. You're right. Is anybody prepared to motion on the floor? Mayor Blair? Oh, sorry, Councillor Fletcher.
That council committee appoint councillors Tim Johnson, Paul Weatherby, Al Kennedy, to represent the Colchester County on the rec board and council committee of sorry. Okay, the council committee appoints the following vote as committee councillors Weatherby and Kennedy as board members and councillor Johnson as council representative for the upcoming members meeting of the society, and these appointments continue as the three board members for Colchester following the anticipated bylaw changes. November council granted concurrent.
Yeah.
Didn't need that.
Thank you, Councillor Fletcher, and I just saw it up on the screen too, so.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I didn't look.
She's faster than we think she is. Seconded by Mayor Blair. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Martel?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I would like to thank Jason Hahn, the municipal service rep, for being here tonight as well, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on the topic of governance related to this motion. For the record, I'm speaking against this motion. I am prepared now to share why that is my position. Just over a year ago, council appointed me to the rec board, and at that point in time, they thought I would be a great fit because of my background and understanding of financials and policy, along with my willingness to speak up if I saw something that wasn't right. To say it's been a challenge navigating the past year with the variety of steps council has taken impacting the society's operation is an understatement. Recently, I was reminded of a proverb, 1817. This speaks to truth, and basically it shares that the first person to present their side of a story or case often seems right and justified. But this initial impression can be missing facts until other parties have had a chance to speak or question or be able to reveal new important details. It emphasizes the need for impartiality and cautions against hasty judgments, listening to all perspectives before formulating a conclusion. I would like to share with you my perspective and information which I not only believe to be the truth, but is worthy of your consideration as a belief in the fact before you make a conclusion. I would like to start with the recognition of the fact that the Central Nova Civic Center Society is in fact registered with the Registry of Joint Stocks as an independent society. Therefore, it is governed by the Nova Scotia Societies Act, which lays out the legislation that allows a society to function and the legal requirements for that society to meet its obligations within the Act. On October 23rd, during an emergency meeting of council, an in-camera discussion was held, and I remember very clearly that night. There were some members of council with heated emotions, sharing information without providing any documentation to council of alleged facts that they shared. Following that, a decision was made to give notice that we would cancel the society operating agreement, which is only one part of the RECC governance. The society has its own independent set of bylaws, and within those bylaws, which I hope by now you have all read, given the magnitude of this situation, it lays out the function of the society and its board. One undisputable fact is there is a legal requirement in the Societies Act that if directors change, then notice must be given to the Registry of Joint Stocks within a period of 14 days to be compliant with the law. The first resignation from the board was provided by Stephanie Jones on November 4th, followed by Andrew Lake on November 5th, Ron Smith on November 10th, and others after. By now, all 8 citizen reps have resigned, and at no point within the past 70 days have I found any evidence of an effort being made to be compliant with the Societies Act in changing the board of directors in the registry. Secondly, another fact, societies must have a registered recognized agent. Ron Smith's resignation on November 10th effectively ended the role of the board on the board. The society is required by law to immediately appoint a recognized agent. There has been no effort made that I have found evidence of to reinstate a recognized agent, nor do I believe at this point the board is capable in doing so. Failure to report director changes or maintain a recognized agent are both contraventions of the Act, which can result in monetary penalties and penalties that lead to the society being struck from the registry and dissolved. A further truth, any director or officer knowingly that permits this failure is liable for a similar penalty. I am still on the board, and council's decisions have put me in this position. To know the Act is not being followed by the society and council's unwillingness to listen and act to protect me and the other 3 remaining directors is unfathomable. Now, another truth, looking at the quorum requirements of the Act, the society bylaws require that there be 12 board members. That if there are vacancies, the society must actively be trying to fill them, and the board cannot operate without quorum, which on a board of 12 would be 7 people. And let me read section 16 of the bylaw for you. Quorum shall consist of a majority of the members. No business shall be conducted at any meetings unless a quorum is present to open the meeting and upon request before any vote. According to the Act, quorum requirements, a board cannot validly pass resolutions or make official decisions if it does not have quorum. And while specific requirements depend on your society's bylaws, quorum is typically a majority of the directors, in this case, 7 of the 12. If the bylaw defines the quorum as a majority of those in office, only then could 4 remaining directors still be able to function. You would still need 7. The society bylaws, as I've read, do not define the quorum as a majority of those in office. It is defined as, just as I read, majority of members, and therefore it is my belief, my truth, that it is not legally allowed to operate. On November 17th, the RECC board held a meeting with 6 board members present. Myself, Doug McGinnis, Ron Meach, 2 mayors, and a town councillor, Deb Pryor. It is my belief and my truth that I share with you that those 6 people, according to the Societies Act, related to how the bylaw is worded, were contravening the Act by holding the meeting where motions were made. Again, I point out the truth that once quorum is not met, there is a legal obligation to fill these positions, that you need to have 7 for quorum. That should have been the only business of the board that night. Minutes were approved from a previous meeting on October 20th. However, minutes from a RECC board meeting, which I attended, held on November 3rd, were not approved and are still being held by staff at the county office, despite my request as a board member who attended the November 3rd meeting to have them released for approval. So during the November 17th society meeting, a new board chair was elected. Doug McGinnis, the 2 CAOs from the town and county were given direction to unwind contracts. And it is my belief and my truth that these actions are invalid and should be struck from record, as the board was not following its bylaws when these decisions were made. Further, the remaining board of just 4 people does not have legal authority to change bylaws, nor would a board of 6, as has been proposed by this council. On the December 11th vote, the change of officer status with the election of Doug was also not filed with the Registry of Joint Stocks. This is a pivotal time in our history where our community has rallied to share with us their belief that it should be involved in the operations and the governance of the RECC, a building that they generously financially contributed to and would not exist without them. We need to listen. This council needs to understand that what I have shared, the violations of the society, I believe, have placed us in a position where we could face a legal challenge and lose. Is this council really willing to risk wasting more taxpayers' dollars on further litigation? There was a belief that we could win the CRA wage subsidy appeal. We did not. I believe there will be a huge implication for the society and our council if we are found in violation of the law. Are we willing to take that risk? My fellow councillors, I know the path ahead is not easy, and many of us are feeling apathy from what has happened at this table over the past year. But this is not a time to disregard the truth or to disregard the community feedback. We can get through this and build a stronger operation while building trust. And again, I will state the board was doing the work it was asked to do in the 12-month period that it was given, working on a process that was approved by the entire board. And I would ask council to vote down the current motion and listen to the truth that I have shared based on the facts of the Society Act, and to immediately put forward a new motion to restore the operating agreement to its former state as of October 23rd, allow time to formulate a better path forward, and further to call a joint meeting with the town and include the organized ad hoc community leaders group of former society board members to set a path forward to reappoint members in accordance with the bylaws that you are required to follow. Please support this action.
To deal with the election.
Yeah.
So you can't put an unrelated motion. If she wants to do it after.
Yeah, you have,
It's a request to vote down the motion, so a new motion can be added.
okay. You wanna turn your mic off, Councillor Benoit, please.
Thank you, Deputy. I've had a lot of notes and I had to put it all aside and just start fresh because there's been so much back and forth with this, and I am not a businesswoman. I have no right to even be thinking to go on the RECC board, but I am a community minded person, and that's kind of what brought me to municipal politics. I cannot support the decision as it is said. I have a few reasons as to why that I'll share. Number one, there's been such a response to public mandates since October 23rd. We've engaged extensively with our constituents through letters, emails, phone calls, and the Town of Truro public engagement survey. The message is clear. The proposed internal government model is not supported by the community. This facility was built through the generosity of the donors, sponsors, taxpayers. We have a duty to listen when they speak. The requirement for joint agreement. The RECC is a joint asset. Governance changes cannot proceed unilaterally. At present, the Town of Truro and the Municipality of Colchester are not aligned. Proceeding with a model that lacks mutual agreement creates a path of uncertainty and legal entanglement that serves neither municipalities. And listening in on their meeting on Monday, it was clear to me that the majority of that council, including the mayor, was not in agreement to what is being proposed. They would have liked to have seen it be rescinded. That's just in my opinion from how I watched it. Another point is there was a public meeting on the 12th that there was a very generous monetary donation offered to go towards a model that I believe deserves to have further exploration with the owners to come up with a possible solution moving forward for the greater good of all involved. And I just think that there's a lot of good that can be had out there. I don't think there's anybody on either council that does not want to see the RECC move forward and do the good work that it's been doing, and all the past board members that were on there there's been some that have surprisingly agreed to come back if needed. I think the message is clear that is what community wants. They want the public engagement. They want community members that are qualified to be on this board. And I think we're doing a disservice by not listening to our taxpayers and to the public. So for those reasons, I've had a lot more, but it's been pretty emotional, but for those reasons, I cannot vote to support the motion as it is.
Thank you. Dennis, do you want to prepare to?
I can
later?
address it in the later.
Oh, sure. Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Agree with Councillor Benoit. It's been a pretty trying time for everybody on this table. Now, I hear about the bitterness between some people at this table and the town, whether they like this or like that. We're all in this thing together, and I've said that several times. It's a poor operating agreement right from the very start. The fact that two entities are split down the middle is a no-win situation for anybody. Truro wants to do this, we want to do that. No, at the end, somebody's gonna end up losing. My constituents, District 6, have been very vocal to me, been on my doorstep, telephone calls, walking down the sidewalk with the dogs, emails, whatever. They use the rec center a lot. Maybe governance is not their biggest issue, but they want to see the community grow as much as possible. And when you go back to Ignite the Spirit in 2012, the original build cost was 52 million or 53 million. 25 million of that budget came from federal government at 10 million, 9.5 million from the provincial government, 5.5 million from local people. So there should be community involvement in this. They deserve that. They're the ones that made it happen. If Colchester County and the town had built the entity by themselves with no input from anybody else, okay, they're the driver. As I see it, it's called the community center. It's got to be the community center. However we move forward or sideways, it's got to stop. I've said this many times. I do like some of the things that Truro's proposed. That's probably why I didn't get voted into the position. Fair. And however it goes forward is up to everybody around this table, and even Colchester County citizens. Because next time there will be an election, you still have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As my colleagues have stated, we need to listen. I think it's important that we listen to the people who put us in these seats. And it was also stated that the RECC was built by the citizens of this community through Ignite the Spirit campaign. And that was a vision by our citizens as well. So the society began as this fundraising committee under Ignite the Spirit, where the community itself raised, as Councillor Leggett said, 5.5 million. For 13 years, this facility has been the heartbeat of this region, a place where memories are made, traditions are born, and generations come together. It's helped position central Nova Scotia, this entire region, as one of Atlantic Canada's premier destinations for major events. So with 10% of the funds raised for the RECC coming directly from the community, we cannot shut the community out by limiting decision-making to elected officials alone. Community voices must continue to have a seat at the table. We don't have to choose between oversight and success. We can achieve both through a citizen-led board. Removing elected officials and senior staff from voting roles eliminates the inherent conflict of being simultaneously accountable to council and responsible for the fiduciary or oversight of an arm's length organization. Citizen boards focus on long-term sustainability, community outcomes unaffected by electoral cycles or shifting political relationships. The model that is, or has been presented ensures the board includes experts from business, tourism, and health sectors, as well as Indigenous partners, keeping the RECC a truly community-driven asset. To ensure immediate stability, while we untangle these complexities, I would recommend reinstating the interim board for a period suitable to council, implementing necessary internal controls for oversight and transparency immediately, amending the operating agreement to ensure full compliance and define reporting structures. So let's not dismantle this progress by supporting the model presented by community leaders like Stephanie Jones and the Rath family. We ensure the RECC remains a proven success while maintaining the oversight our taxpayers expect. So I want to encourage council to advocate for the community-led governance model, and I will be voting down or against this motion.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to comment before we have the vote? Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've listened to four of my fellow councillors, and I've been sitting here for roughly 5.5 years or over 5 years, and I never heard one of them mention the NSPE grounds. It seems that we never had a lot of talk, problems, or any problems up until we entered into an agreement with the NSP grounds with the RECC. So no one's, and I think everybody around this table, this community, wants to see the RECC move forward. No one's gonna sit here and say they don't. We're all looking for a better solution to it, but I just find it odd that no one's mentioned what triggered this whole thing to begin with, and it was when we went across the river and started doing work across the grounds. I'm not gonna comment on what we did or what we didn't do, right, what was wrong, but I think that's a very important point to add here, is that that's what added fuel to the fire, and I think that's what we're trying to fix, so thank you for that.
Councillor Wetherby, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am new to this and I've only been here for a year and 3 months likely. Since I've been here, we knew there was a problem with the RECC from day one. We sat around for a year and 3 months. Nothing got done. Everything kept getting delayed and put off, and we can't provide any statements saying where the money's going or where the money's split between the X and the Rath East Link Center. The Rath East Link Center is basically falling apart. We have to make decisions on maintenance to that building because we have too big an asset there to lose. I don't think it was anybody's intention that we would not include information from the citizens, information from local businessmen, and I understood when I volunteered to do this, that this would be an interim situation that would be corrected as we got contracts and everything sorted out for the Rath East Link Center. Basically the maintenance, so we could bring that back to the way it was meant to be, the way it's supposed to be. And then if we can do other things, that's fine. I mean, there were a lot of good things happened that were promoted and that helped the community a lot. I won't deny that, but at what cost? The cost was the Rath East Link Center, which really took a beat. And I would like to see something happen to help that get back to the way it's supposed to be. It's community money. That's why I'm voting in favor of what I voted in favor of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Denmark, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I will say that I do agree with a lot of Councillor Weatherby's what he had just said, because I've said it before, that I feel that there has, and I have had concerns from residents as well and patrons about things that have not been getting fixed at the RECC. The reason I'm just talking about the RECC tonight is because that's what this is about, is the RECC right now. But I agree, there's definitely some things that need to be fixed at the RECC. I've heard it from residents. I'm not disputing that. And also, I just feel that just having a counselor-led board right now is not the answer. I think we can still do these things and still have some citizens on the board as well, is I guess where I'm coming from. And I had one more thing that I wanted to say, and sorry, I'll leave it at that.
All right. I'll be ready, Councillor Martel.
I would like clarification if the word interim appears in that motion.
Tracy's gonna.
So, to the chair, previous counselor had mentioned that they believe this was an interim measure and the word interim does not appear in
Yes.
the motion. So, it would be my belief that this is not interim because it's not part of the motion. And I am again speaking to the fact that regardless of whether you want to believe this or that and what problem instigated the fact that we are in this situation right now, that it is my belief in reading the bylaws, reading the Society Act, that a board of 6 people that cannot function under the current bylaws, and to appoint people to change bylaws, you still would not have quorum. So with all due respect, Mr. James is the solicitor for the county, while he's not the solicitor for the society, which is an independent body and regulatory society. So I am not voting for this motion. I fully agree that there are major issues at the RECC, but I also believe that the solution of putting forward 6 counselors on a board is not the answer to deal with this issue.
I do believe that what was put before us to consider tonight came from our solicitor, and I would suspect that he would have known what was legal and what was not in terms of presenting to us to vote on, so that's,
Madam Chair,
yeah. Councillor Leggett.
just a point of information, Truro did appoint an interim board, not a permanent board.
So you saw the motion. Do you want to make an amendment to that motion?
No.
Okay. All right, are you ready for the vote?
Can you bring the motion?
It'll come back up. Okay. Voting is open. Please vote now. Voting is closed. And we have 7 in favor and no against, so the motion passes.
You said, oh, none against.
5 against, what did I say?
Didn't.
Oh, God.
You were looking at abstentions.
Yeah, 7 and 5. All right, moving on to the next item. It's part of the same topic, and it's an information item that was provided on table. And it's called anticipated amendments to the RECC operating agreement, and I believe Dennis is going to address this.
So council, this was distributed with the anticipation that there'll be an agreement in your next package. So we just wanted to trace some of the issues that will be addressed based on the discussion and some observations. You know, it's always difficult making the decisions. Decisions have been thrusted upon you. And I think one of the biggest challenges that has been at the heart of what's been going on is the fact that large and undertakings were made contrary to the bylaws, contrary to the operating agreement, without board knowledge of the agreements that were being signed, without board oversight of the agreements being signed, and with only one person signing the contract. And those are all elements that suggest that obviously if the board wasn't aware that contracts were signed, they couldn't provide the oversight, but it does suggest that there was a belief or a lack of understanding in terms of how to properly manage contracts, approve contracts, and to make sure that the society, whether it's the board or the staff, depending on the significance or of the contract and a contract policy or process, as you will know yourself, council, will distinguish between those that you delegate to staff, you don't expect to see those contracts, and those that you expect to see in front of the board. So there, you know, the fact that you have an operating and a lease agreement of the 10 years time that was done without any oversight, no apparent legal advice, heavily weighted in favor of the Farm Loan Board, is a concerning thing that the municipality and the town has to. And I know there will be some who will say, well, that the society is responsible. But, you know, when does the society, what happens when the society runs out of money? What happens indirectly to the implications? And Dan Scott can speak better in terms of financial accounting for it. If you also have paragraphs or provisions in there that we've talked about before, for instance, that if the operations of the NSP were to benefit the RECC, you've got clear language in the operating agreement that would be consistent with that notion. Maybe it's acceptable, but when it's not discussed in a proper fashion and everybody's catching up with the implications of these after the fact, it's a problem in terms of contract management. Same with the Rawhide agreement. You have a multi-year contract, very expensive contract, and suffered from a lack of oversight by a board, a review, and you don't even have termination clauses. Most significantly, you have a problem with the funding agreement. You have a funding agreement the society entered into for $2 million. You'll see the chart. This is taken right out of the agreement that was signed. These two charts are part of it. Documents previously circulated. You'll see that the anticipation of the agreement was that the money was to be used over a 5-year period in certain amounts and allocations. So the society is responsible for that. My understanding is most, if not all of that money has been used, and you haven't hit year 2, and Dan can speak to that. So you have a society that's got this commitment to manage a $2 million fund for 5 years, and it appears to be we're at the end of it, and we haven't hit year 2 of the anniversary that CEDAF was signed in May of 2024. That raises concern. Maybe it's fine. I don't know, but it suggests to me that there's board oversight. You've heard before that the system within the society doesn't allow the tracking. So it leaves issues about whether the intent of the agreement was met, was satisfied. The same thing with the metrics. You'll see the metrics that was at the heart of the funding that wasn't anticipated. The society was supposed to be on at least 12 events per year, average event attendance, 30,000 per event. That's a very large. Is that sustainable? Who was asking those questions? And then you have other metrics. So these are very significant obligations, and it's very hard to catch up with them after the fact. So the operating agreement must impose on the society. So I think to Councillor Weatherby's point in terms of his understanding of Weatherby of interim or not, you know, these bylaws are put in place. If upon review and satisfaction of the operating agreement and satisfaction of the municipality and the owners, you can look at issues down the road, but these have to be fundamentals in an operating agreement, whatever structure exists today, whatever structure exists a year from now. But these are fundamentals that have to be in the operating agreement. And I know there's a lot of merit in community-led, but on the other hand, the municipality and the town of Truro are the backers of the society for all intents and purposes financially. You can talk about the independence of the society, fair enough. The members of the society are those who happen to be appointed on the board at the time. Right now, you only have 4 members left, plus the town and the municipality. It's those members who will make a decision on the bylaw, but it's those members. So yes, it's an independent society in one hand, but if there's no funds available, the society will be impacted. And yes, there is language in the contract agreements with the province that said municipality and the town are not directly responsible for any deficit. But if the society is responsible or exposed to a deficit, then the town and municipality and the operations of the RECC are exposed to the existence of a deficit. On procurement, same thing. The existing agreement does have language that requires the society. There is a question and there is a concern, examples where procurement practices may not be compliant with town and municipality policies. And as a public entity spending money in this community, it should operate according to the Public Procurement Act. So language will be coming in an amended version of the agreement that deals and requires, I think, more clearly language in terms of the obligation on the board to ensure that its procurement practices are compliant. And I know this is a real challenge in understanding when you have the owners. And I've not heard from either council. I know some individual councillors, but nobody's put a motion on the floor to take the owners in up until this process, and maybe there would be. But the owners have been involved from the beginning, and both councils, as I understand it, have always believed that owners should be involved in conjunction and collaboration with the community. My observation, fair or not, is that this notion of conflict was leveraged, and it was leveraged over the provincial exhibition issue. Just because the community members and the owners' representatives disagree doesn't mean that the owners are in conflict. They are still of the entity. The principle under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act in our case is having you there representing council on a board or other body does not make it a conflict for you also to speak to it at council. The principle has to be inverse for it to work well, because otherwise, if an owner's, if council's representatives are going to be conflicted out for whatever reason, so there's got to be a collaboration. There's got to be a point where the owners, and I think that's what's happened. And my observations, I've seen that notion of conflict of owner's interest. There is a society, it was constructed of owners' representatives and communities representatives, and you've received letters, you've seen letters over the, from the previous board, and you have had members experience being told that they are in conflict. And yes, everybody's got to be working for the same entity, but simply because the owners come to the table with a different perspective, a blended perspective, a perspective representing council, does not put them in conflict in that sense. And you know, maybe at the end of the day, a council will say, we don't want the owners on it. Maybe that will be an iteration down the road. I don't know. But right now, as long as the societies existed, both town and municipality expected to be at the table to make sure this asset was managed in from a management perspective. And of course, the community had the majority members. But the fact that the local government is at the table and expressing an owner's view does not make it a conflict. Otherwise, the principle that's anticipated by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act of allowing the municipality to engage with community groups and the councillors still come back and talk about it at this table, I think is lost. And it raises a real question of how council's ever involved in outside entities. So I think clarity and coming to terms with the balance of what the owner's role is going to be important, and we're going to attempt to address that in the upcoming meeting. The public meetings in April, 2 elected councillors from here and 1 from the town attempted to go to a society meeting. That was refused on the direction of the then chair. There have to be clear language, just like all your committees and bodies. It's a public entity. We will come to council and council will decide, but language will be included to recommend that it be guided by Section 22 of the Municipal Government Act, which means meetings of the board would be open, subject to any in-camera provisions that are allowed under the Act, and council can give that direction. Again, I'm putting these concepts out there so that you have a chance when the contract comes to think through some of the initiatives. The complaint process. Numerous councillors around this table, the discussion, have expressed concerns that they hear back from members and users of the facility. I think there has to be clarity on the board to put in a complaint process that allows people to feel that they're the process that they've been heard and an answer given, and that there's some accountability for what that process is. Enhanced and collaborative management practices. I think this is a critical piece that we will be suggesting be built into the operating agreement, and that would be a requirement of the senior staff and the senior staff of the owners to meet on a regular basis and more engaged in sharing of information, so that the owners and the society are both on the same communication point and are not surprised by decisions that are made or entered into. This is an important asset, and I think imposing this type of regimen, I think, will be useful to everybody. And then, of course, the budgeting amendments. There's some confusion about whether debts at the society or debt and deficit of the society have to be carried into the municipal accounting. My understanding from CEO and CFO is they would be included, and therefore they are factored into your statements. And so I think that clarity, so everybody understands why deficits or debts incurred by the society have an impact on the municipal units. These are some of the points that we'll be addressing in the operating agreement. The operating agreement has been in place. There was some language introduced after 23 to constrain what went on in terms of event management. Those were not followed. I think we have to still obviously have a robust operating agreement. And it's like everything, if the contract's prepared, honored, often people never look at it again because they're honoring the spirit of it and the process. And if the contract is put into place, then the board will have to make sure that all senior staff of the society and the owners are aware of it, and that the board is aware of it so that it can guide how it carries out its work. So these are the things that will be coming in the amendments when you get it in your package.
Thank you, Dennis. So we can expect these anticipated amendments and maybe others coming to council at the end of the month. Councillor Martel.
Through you to Dennis, I would like to draw your attention to page 20, Article 10, purchasing policies of the operating agreement. And the language that is used in that operating organization shall establish its comprehensive written procurement guidelines and procedures, which guidelines and procedures may be at the operating organization's discretion, the same or based on the procurement guidelines and procedures of the town and municipality. And I see in this, it's stated that the existing operating agreement requires that the society follow the town and municipality procurement policies, and perhaps it's semantics, but the words may be is definitely open for interpretation, that they are not specifically required in my interpretation of how that reads, and I would like your comments on it.
Okay, so I don't have the operating agreement in front of you. That may be the language, but it also speaks to the need to be clear on this. Public funds are being spent here, and public funds should be spent in a manner consistent with the Public Procurement Act. So if there's a language that is open to interpretation and question, we have to tighten it up so everybody knows if RECC funds are being spent on services or goods, that everybody has a chance in accordance with the public procurement process. So that's the intent of the change that will be recommended. There is an argument, and I haven't gone down this far, that actually it might be considered an entity already covered by the Public Procurement Act. I don't know if that was canvassed with their legal counsel, but there is an argument that regardless of what you do, and even though there's a notion it's an independent, there is, yes, on the one hand, it's an independent society, it is still closely tied to the town and the municipality. So if the agreement is not clear, our intent is to make it clear and make sure that the practices are consistent with the public purchasing practices required by the Act and the town and the municipality, to make sure all businesses have fair and equal access.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thank you, Dennis. We'll move along then to item 12, which is schedule of meetings for fiscal 26-27. Thank you to Tracy for preparing this. Anybody prepared to put a motion on the floor? Dan, did you want to? No. Mayor Blair, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll put a motion on the floor. That council committee recommend to council that these schedule meetings for fiscal year 26-27 be approved as presented.
Thank you. I have a seconder, Councillor Weatherby. Are there any questions, any comments on Councillor Weatherby? Mayor Blair, can you take your microphone, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have to declare any conflicts with the schedule now? Or that's irrelevant?
So at this, sorry, through the chair. So at this point, first, it's just about establishing them. If there is a date here that you think would create a conflict, particularly for the majority of members, so that
No, it's only for me.
So
You're not that important.
So generally, we try to line it up with like FTM or other meetings where you would have a majority going. But no, at this point, you as a singular counselor who might not be able to make a meeting, you don't have to declare
Okay,
at this
that's
point.
fine. Yep.
Thank you for checking that out. We have a motion on the floor. Ready for the question? Okay, I think it's coming up on screen now. And you can all vote now. Close. And we have 1 no and 11 yeses. The motion carries.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
Thanks, Paul.
Must be
It's all right. Motion still passed. And our next item is award of an RFP for audit services. And Scott, you're gonna take this one?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Evening, Council. This is, purpose of this item is to award the RFP for audit services. And as council will recall, this came to council in November for an award, authority to award to committee. So that's why we're looking at it tonight. In terms of the audit for the municipality, I do mention in here that there are limited firms that offer the service. And those are registered firms that are in the province. There are 13 available that can do municipal audits under public sector accounting standards. And in terms of our particular RFP, we received 2 proposals. One from Doan Grant Thornton and one from BDO. And the prices on those particular proposals are in the package. Doan Grant Thornton, 3 years, 2026 was $83,876 for year 1. Year 2, $87,603. And year 3, 2028, $91,455 compared to BDO. BDO's proposal was for 2026, year 1, $57,941. 2027 was $60,380, and year 3, 2028, $62,820. RFPs were evaluated on the following criteria. Qualifications was weighted for 20%, experience 20%, comprehension of the project 15%, methodology and approach 20%, cost 20%, and quality of proposal 5%. I do mention in the item that it's important to note that proposals are based on or evaluated on that criteria based on the submission of the proposal. So although Doan Grant Thornton is the auditor that we've had in the past, we evaluate based on the proposals so that it's fair for all that submit. In reviewing them, they were fairly consistent in terms of their scoring, but BDO did receive a higher aggregate score based on primarily on the cost difference between the proposals. And you know, there are advantages to switching periodically over time. You know, when you switch firms, sometimes you get a new perspective on things. So a fresh set of eyes may pick up on things or make recommendations that someone else may not. So it's not always a bad thing. And with saying that, we did make recommendation in the item that we award audit services to BDO. If there's any questions on the recommendation, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Scott. Have a motion on the floor. Councillor Cooper, please.
I would move that council committee awards the RFP for the audit services to BDO Canada LLP.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Kennedy. You want to speak to it?
Yes, let's, for you to Scott, please. I noticed in here, Scott, you made a note that both audit teams are regional in nature, while DGT has a physical office located within Truro. The primary staff on the audit are based out of the Halifax office. If I remember correctly, a lot of the staff came from outside of Toronto to do our audit from Grant last time too.
They
Is that
do,
correct?
yeah, they do, and that's been the case for a number of years.
Yeah, so I don't see that as a problem at all, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just no difference in either one.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Any other questions? You ready for the vote?
Right.
Up on screen here. Voting's open. Opposed? And it's a unanimous vote in favor. Thank you, Scott. Our next item is an item added by Councillor Martell, Council Communications, and I'll Councillor Martell take it, please.
Thank you. I'd like to open by offering a motion that the staff be directed to prepare a council communication policy with input from council to set expectations on what types of communications will be distributed to council, when and how, and to whom. And
Can you give that to Tracy? So. Thank you. And we need a seconder for that motion. Seconded by Councillor Leggett. Any questions? You want to speak to it?
yes.
Go ahead.
So I've been on council about a year now, and we've talked about communication at council a number of times and how we like to have it improved. We see each other at council committee, we see each other at council of the whole. And during those times, there are months that happen where communication is sent appropriately to our CAO's office or to the mayor's office, asking for that to be distributed to council. And sometimes it may not specifically say that it should be distributed directly to council within the document. However, there would be an implication that some of that information should come to council more broadly. We also face times where we, as council, give consent to council committee to make a decision on a particular topic, that if the current process is that the CAO would provide us with correspondence that has been sent through his office, which may come to council at the end of the month of council of the whole on that agenda. We could be making decisions on things that the correspondence could be relevant to at council committee, and we wouldn't have any knowledge of that correspondence until the end of the month. So reflective of some of the communication that has come through to all of council in the past month, we received complaints about the RECC to all of us, which I would say may not have been an appropriate channel, where the RECC is an independent society, and while the board is in a state of complete dysfunction at this point, we had not had complaints sent through to council's entirety in the past. We're also aware that a news release was issued on October 29th. However, we all saw it on Facebook. Well, those that were looking saw it on Facebook prior to having that communication coming to council. I think a policy strengthening that, saying that council would receive a news release prior to it being released to the public, and making steps to make sure that happens would strengthen our communication as a whole for council. And we also, recently had this situation where Minister of or the Department of Agriculture has sent a letter to both CAOs of the town and council. Information within that letter had asked that letter to be distributed to council, following a process that has been worked through in the past. That communication was sent to our CAO, who had expressed that he planned to share it with council by the end of the month. But where it was shared fully with the town of Truro and ended up in the public domain, and us finding out about it that way, strengthening communication that perhaps we could have been given a heads up that a letter had been received, and that while if there were things within that that he wanted time to deal with, it could have better prepared us for some of the public backlash to strengthen us in our positions. So that is why I'm making that motion tonight, opening up the opportunity to have a more fulsome discussion on what we as council would value as a pathway for strengthening communication.
Thank you, Councillor Martell. Is there any other discussion on the motion? You ready for, oh, Councillor Cooper?
I guess I'll just maybe go through you and CAO and ask if there's any reason that we shouldn't bring this forward, I guess. Seems like a reasonable thing to bring forward, I guess, so.
Thank you through the chair.
You should have.
Oh. Good thing I'm not voting.
Yeah.
So through the chair to committee is that there's a lot of correspondence comes in, and so full disclosure, similar to comments you heard from the solicitor. I'm not on social media, don't look at social media, don't care about social media. And so I recognize there's a lot of information gets floated around. What happens in the town of Truro with regards to their process for distributing information is town of Truro's process. Recognize a lot of correspondence comes in, and what you as committee and council and trust is that the due diligence around that information is done. And so if a piece of information comes in that has inaccuracies or needs follow-up or is part of a negotiation, that's going to remain under an umbrella until such time that it can go with the proper context around it. We'll call it maybe the lightning rod in the middle of some of this is that my understanding is that a document was distributed with some level of confidence expected, and it went beyond that. And therefore, while there were discussions going on with folks that it went out, and some folks felt that, perhaps that should have been known or not known. But the reality of it is that the discretion of what comes through typically means that there's a certain amount of energy and effort put into validating truth, validating whether there's other information with it. I fully understand the councilor's perspective with regards to the process has perhaps a gap if there's a timing issue in between. But I also understand that there's a significant amount of correspondence that comes in where the items that are being discussed are operational, the items being discussed are contractual. And so in fact, them remaining to the end of the month and often remaining till an in-camera environment are important. I fully understand if council feels that there's certain things that they want to see within certain periods of time. But I also feel there's a great risk that if something comes in and there's no opportunity to assess the validity of what's coming in, then that too can create a significant misleading situation. So to the councillor's comment, no, there is nothing at the end of the day I see that creates any issue with regards to saying we want some clarity around certain documents. But I wanted to set some context on this is that there is a professional obligation too, that if a document comes in that has got inaccuracies or perhaps is misleading, there's even certain follow-up that needs to happen. And that follow-up needs to be that either myself or whoever receives that as a staff person is going back to do their due diligence to make sure that not just a letter or a note or a document, that what comes back to council has had some level of understanding whether there's any truth or fact to that document. So short answer is no. And but I do want to make sure folks understand that there is a level of scrutiny that does happen on many things that come in, and it has to happen because just because it's in a letter doesn't mean that it's always accurate. And quite frankly, sometimes when you do your due diligence on it, people wish that they could retract the letter that they sent after you've had a conversation with somebody.
Thank you, Dan. Councillor Benmont.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Dan, just a question that just made me think of this. When we have letters that we ask to be sent on behalf of council, such in the past, like just the top of my head, a couple of them were on the busing situation, I think it was, and then also hospital parking was another one. Do those can those letters come to us maybe before they're sent out or when they're sent out or something like that, just so that we can have an idea of what was not, I'm not saying I don't trust what you guys are putting in the letters. I'm just saying that would be just nice to kind of see what's been said in case sorry. To see what's been said in case before.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So first of all, through the chair, so I appreciate that, Councillor, and I fully understand what you're saying. And I think that what you're basically looking for is just a bit of a heads up before any letter would go out, so you can see a copy of it.
If we can.
I don't see any issue with that as being a process that we put in place, so 100%.
Thank you.
Mayor Blair? Thank you. I send a lot of information out that comes to me, information I feel that councillors may want to have for their constituents. That may be, whether it's health things for getting vaccinations, information, locations, weather reports, all of this sort of thing that I feel that councillors may want to have for information for their constituents if their constituents ask. Other things, such as the letter that Councillor Martel referenced with regards to the RECC, had already been sent to town councillors. And town councillors had it. It came to us as well, to mayor and council. And given the fact that town councillors received it, I sent it out to our councillors so they would be aware as well. So often I ask our CAO, do you want this piece of correspondence to go to correspondence action or information at the end of the month if something comes in? And we agree, either I send it out to council or it goes to correspondence at the end of the month. We get a tremendous amount of correspondence in here, a lot of documentation, and actually had another piece of correspondence come in, another complaint on the hospital parking to Councillor Benoit's point that was made. And this is something that we bring them forward, we discuss it, and we talk about it. So there is communication on what is actually done.
Thank you, Mayor Blair. Any other discussion points, or are you ready for the vote? Guess we're ready for the vote. Are you going to put it up? Okay. And there's the motion. Are you ready for the vote? Here we go. Please vote. It's closed. And it's 11 yes, and one no. The motion passes. Thank you. That's all of our action items. And we'll move along to our information items. First item is the Debert Business Park Archaeological Resource Impact Assessment Request for funds. And you can see some big numbers in that information item there. Anybody have any comments or questions for Jen on this item? Councillor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jen, and everybody here, I guess, like, it's staggering the number for $12.5 million for land that we're going to sell for half the cost of it does to get it surveyed. Convince me why we are doing this. Who's coming to town that's going to offset this cost down the road, make it worthwhile? Thank you.
If I may, Madam
Yeah.
Chair.
I didn't know if you wanted to tackle that one. Go ahead, Jen.
I agree, Councillor Leggett. They're big numbers, absolutely. And the intent of the item this evening is not to say we're moving forward by any means with any more further archaeological work, but rather just to give numbers. You'll remember when we met to discuss Debert at large and the larger plan, the conversation was, well, if we're going to open up highway access with the areas of land that we've already cleared, the 10 and 20 on either side, we should have a knowledge of what it's going to cost us to extend further, right? So I think if there ever was to be a interest or appetite to do archaeological work, it would be piecemeal. We would look at much smaller pieces of land than what's proposed, but at least we have a number per acre here. I will say that, you know, the return on the commercial lands close to the highway, you're looking at 97,000 an acre, which in theory could be recouped via land sale. I think that's what higher commercial land is roughly going for across the province. But we'd obviously want to take a look at other business parks, look at their property footprints and what the commercial tax return came to when the whole build out was there. And probably don't enter work until we have LOI signed and we already have companies agreed to do that work. So this is just for information, and we will obviously use this information to inform future decision more than anything else.
Councillor Cooper?
I agree with you, Jen. Please.
Sure.
So Jen, just to clarify my head on that, so are you saying that highway frontage property get $97,000 an acre on top of 97,000, take your archaeological work? They ought to be some 200,000 an acre. Are you saying you'd sell it for 97?
The latter.
Yes, you'd be selling land.
It would be breaking even essentially, so the
Yeah,
return would be
so-
commercial tax.
Yeah, but you never even think of bringing any of this stuff like that in the process, you know, this, yeah, so. Anyway, thanks for the information. Yeah.
Anything else for Jen before we move on? The price isn't going down, we know that.
Right, right.
Certainly not.
Yeah. The next item then is sewer lateral installations, and price isn't going down for that one either. Michelle's given us some information on the costs involved, and that what we've set for laterals is probably not covering what it costs now, and I, at the end, you want to make a motion, do you?
No.
No,
this is
okay.
information, but I do want to ask. a
Yeah,
question.
sure, go ahead, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, David. This is it's got to do with sewer, not so much laterals, but I'd like to direct it to Michelle.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the development here in Shirley that's been going on around us and continue to go on with the development agreements passed out. How is it going to affect us at our sewer treatment plant over all these extra residential units and commercial and apartments that are being built? Obviously, what it's doing for us, I'm thinking every one that they build means it's one that we probably can't send down there. So when are we gonna max out when it's not even our sewage? I'm sure you thought about where the happy medium is, but it looks like they're taking advantage of our treatment plant and we're gonna get capacity here someday soon, and we're thinking we might have to make limitations in the county. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it.
Michelle, please.
Through the chair, I guess some of this, and maybe Dennis can head nod, is maybe an in-camera response.
That's fine.
Okay.
But I will tell you, the plant construction was funded 50-50 by town and county. And so the town has been assigned 50% of the plant capacity. We monitor to make sure, based on what we know is coming, that they are within that capacity. And at some point, they may be a trigger for us to negotiate with them if they want more capacity, they have to pay for that expansion. So they have an allotment. It's a matter of us tracking, sure they're within that.
So I may have to follow up with you, Deputy.
Yes.
At what point do you anticipate we're gonna hit that maximum capacity? What you see in front of us today? Or can you say that?
Maybe Dan can take.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna refer to the, there is a potential negotiation here with the neighbor as part of where you go and when you know. There's a lot of pressure points. In the past, we've had studies that have come in where we've seen the pressure point isn't at the plant, it's somewhere in between, and who pays for that in between. So I do believe there's a lengthy discussion to be had and some decisions and a negotiation that will likely have to happen. So I'd like to pull the whole thing into an in-camera discussion.
Oh, I totally understand.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. There is the last bullet point there is where the average cost of the lateral sits at 9,000. We're only collecting 5,000 to 7,000. Council may want to consider updating the municipal fees policy, reflect the increased costs, and this item could be referred to staff for further action. Is anybody interested in referring this item to staff for further information and action? Councillor Cooper?
I'd move ready for staff.
Okay.
Future.
Thank you. Do we have a second there? Councillor Johnson. this one up on the screen. No, okay, we'll just vote the regular way, yeah. So is there any further discussion on the motion to refer to staff? Are you ready for the question? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were doing it.
Sorry, I thought the motion was voting still.
So you can do the vote.
By aye,
Yeah, no, we can do the vote.
when you have the motion now. Okay, here we go. Please vote. And it's unanimous. We referred to staff. Thank you, Michelle. And you're on again for the Northern Pulp renewal. It's just an information item and it's being renewed again. Any questions, any comments? All right, see any? And we've got the director's report, Public Works Department. A lot of stuff going on with our Department of Public Works. A lot of good stuff going on. Councillor Cooper?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy. Just through you to Michelle, I see that our speed board signs are in the area and we're allowed to use them, so this is depending on weather. I see weather. I understand weather, I'm other than it every day, so what weather permitting can we put these things up? Is it days like today or is it or it's snowing or anything? Give us an idea of when and where we may see these things.
And Michelle?
Yeah, through the chair, so it's, I think, been 2 or 3 weeks since we got approval. We have a portable post system that we need to get into the ground, so it depends on frost, so if things are good now, hopefully, the next week or so, we'll be able to get the units up, so it's a frost issue. We're not going to be strapping them to existing power poles, we have.
As a follow-up, so I know there's 4 or 5 inches of frost in the ground right now today. Can we put them in the ground with any frost at all, or can't? So we've got a limit what we can challenge and do. Okay, and that limit's probably 4 or 5 inches. Not really great. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Blair.
Thank you. And through the chair to Michelle, I was looking at staff working to identify the unknown source of ammonia in the Great Village sewer system. How would that affect the sewer system? That ammonia in there?
Through the chair, so ammonia increases pH and creates toxic corrosive environment in the sewer. It also could affect the water course if the pH is outside of range for the water course. So we've sent out letters to the public in the area that we know it's an issue and we'll keep monitoring it.
Thank you.
Anything else for Michelle? Her report? Thank you very much for a very detailed report. This, so we're just about to go in camera, but I would like to recognize a gentleman sitting out in our gallery. I believe this is our new executive director of their tourism society, Nick Sharp. I'd just like to welcome you to a meeting tonight and congratulations on taking on the new role. So
Thank you so much.
thank you for coming tonight. Yeah, we look forward to all the good work that's going to happen for tourism in Central Nova. Thank you. So can I have a motion then to go in camera? And I believe Councillor Patton is recusing herself, so. Moved by Councillor Weatherby to go in camera,